Wouldn't it be cool if you could just jump a few hours ahead in time and overcome all the work that you now have to do and to face in the next few hours? Sometimes we think it would be way easier, way more comfortable, and way better if we could actually do this. And at the same time, thinking about these things usually doesn't help a lot. It helps nothing. But at the same time, there is a strategy by which you can actually achieve this wanted effect. A way in which you can make it to successfully master the next few hours and to not procrastinate, or at least to not procrastinate too much. And initially, when you're starting with this approach, you might not be able to fully make it within the deadline, because this needs also a bit of training and a good portion of realism and expertise, but you will make it to at least come a lot closer to the deadline you set for yourself. So how can you actually make that? How can you do this? And this is what this video is about. So if you stay and watch this video till the end, you will have a method by which you can just find out what you have to do in order to achieve any goal that you set for yourself, and to also make it in time. So let's start. The main issue when it comes to achieving any goal is usually that we are unclear about what we want. And I think this is not a big secret. And you might also think, yeah, this doesn't really wonder me. But the point is, it makes a huge difference how we imagine our goals that we set for ourselves. It matters a lot how we feel internally while we are visualizing those goals, when we think of them or about them. Many people are unconscious about what actually happens inside of them, what actually happens internally when they visualize a certain goal, when they think about it. And other people, and this is maybe you, or probably you, if you in general watch videos about topics that go deeper, then you might probably know that visualization is very powerful, and also that oftentimes it is about using one's senses, connecting to one's senses, and the more senses we include, the more successful the visualization becomes. This is, for most people, common knowledge. But if you want to achieve a certain goal, or you have time pressure, you often don't think this way. You just think, oh man, I have this deadline to fulfill and something is not matching. There are maybe a lot of emotions coming up depending on the task. Maybe it is something that you have to, for that you have to overcome certain emotions because it is something that is new to you, or something that you are not used to, or that is not already a habit. So what do you do then? What you can do is, and here's the method, what you can do is you imagine this version of yourself that is actually already a few hours ahead of yourself. So it is also, so this is basically this technique of imagining your higher self, but you don't apply this to a very large time frame necessarily. You just imagine the version of yourself that is a few hours ahead. For doing so, you just think and visualize how much time you will probably need for the task if you do it immediately. And the trick here is to make this time frame a bit shorter. So if you normally need 5 hours for the task, still stay realistic, but then maybe make it 3 hours 45 or 3 hours 30. So it should be something that is difficult, but still feels realistic to you. And maybe other people who are experts at the same task, they make it in even 2 hours or less. It really depends. But of course, reality involves time, and certain tasks take time, and we can't do anything in any given time frame or time period. So you have to be very logical and mindful about how you set this time frame. And here's the important part. The mistake that most people make when they try to do this, especially when they do this for the first few times, is that they imagine their goal as something that is rather emotional and something that fulfills them with an inner sense of warmth. So the goal actually, on a subconscious level, signals them this is something that you need in order to feel whole or complete. And most people are not aware of this. And especially when it comes to goals that are, for example, about social contacts, about partners, about things that you want to fulfill that involve other people, certain business goals, for example. All these things, they can be quite tricky if you relate to your goals in this way. Because what will happen is that you end up fulfilling or trying to fulfill other people's expectations when you follow this. So what you have to do instead is to imagine the goal as something that is rather objective, something that feels more cold or cool. Because this is also another name of a goal, an objective. An objective is something that we face with an inner attitude that is very neutral. And this neutral attitude is not subjective. And when people get angry or when an argument gets heated up, this is when people are in their subjective experience. This is when things get the most emotional. So the approach actually is about getting more detached about your goals. And you imagine your goal. For example, you want to perform a certain task within a few hours, and you imagine yourself how you already finished that task. How you, for example, wrote this article that you wanted to write and that you need to write, and how it exactly feels, but not in the sense of everything feels emotionally well, but you imagine yourself like a cool or cold business person who just did the task and is competent, and how it actually feels to have done the task and what this person needed to do in order to perform this task, and what this person or this future version of yourself has learned. And what you do by doing so is that you approach this topic from backwards. So you actually model the path that you need to take by focusing on the goal that you want to attain. And by doing so, you can just ask the corresponding questions. What are the steps that I need to take to attain these goals within this deadline of 3 hours, 45 minutes, for example? What you do when you do this is that you take the full responsibility for the task that you have to perform, and not only for the task, but also for the resources, in this case also your time that is given. So time actually, from this perspective, is like a resource. So the great thing about this is that you can perform a very difficult task or go through a very intense transformation within a very short period in time. And after the few hours are over, you ask yourself, why didn't I use this approach all the time? Why didn't I learn about this approach earlier? And what's also great about this is that you can use this not only on a level of a few hours, you can also use this on a larger time horizon. But there are more things that you have to take care of. So in this video, I leave it with that. And another hint, if you want to do this, never forget where your roots are, because your metaphysical roots are accessed from within. This is where your talents are found, and this is where your power lies. So make sure you know this.